Ladies and gentlemen, your mind is the master key, the ultimate architect of everything you will ever experience in your life. It is not just an organ inside your skull. It is a factory of creation, producing every outcome, every success, every failure, and every destiny you have ever lived. Most people don't truly understand the power sitting between their ears. They walk through life thinking that circumstances, luck, or other people decide their fate. They believe that life happens to them, when in truth life happens from them. Every thought you allow to live in your mind is a seed. Those seeds grow into feelings, those feelings grow into decisions, and those decisions grow into the results you see in your world. If you plant weeds, doubt, fear, anger, you will harvest struggle and misery. If you plant roses, confidence, gratitude, courage, you will harvest success and fulfillment. The mind does not judge whether the seeds you plant are good or bad, right or wrong. It simply grows whatever you feed it. That's why negative feelings have such an easy time taking control when you're not paying attention. One small negative thought, if left unchecked, can spiral into a storm that clouds your entire vision. You might wake up one day thinking about one problem, and by night your mind has turned it into 10 different reasons why you're not good enough, why you can't win, why you should quit. But here's the truth. Your mind only runs that program because you gave it the input. You fed it the thought, you repeated it, you let it settle in, and now it has become a belief. The key is to understand that beliefs are not permanent. They are simply thoughts you have chosen to accept as true over time. If you can program negative beliefs, you can just as powerfully program positive ones. The same mental energy that builds fear can build courage. The same creative force that imagines failure can imagine victory. And once you understand that, you become dangerous to your doubts, dangerous to your fears, and dangerous to the version of you that wants to stay small. When you wake up in the morning, your mind is like fresh clay. It's ready to be shaped, and the first thoughts you choose to put into it will determine the form it takes for the day. If you start your day with thoughts of gratitude, focus, and strength, you set the tone for everything that follows. If you allow your mind to drift into anxiety, frustration, or bitterness, you have already given the steering wheel to negativity. The challenge is not just thinking positive thoughts once, it's building the habit of controlling your thoughts every moment. Most people try to control their feelings, but feelings are not the starting point, thoughts are. A feeling is simply your body's reaction to a thought you've accepted as real. If you're feeling fear, it's because your mind has been imagining a future you don't want. If you're feeling hopeless, it's because your mind is running images of defeat and failure. Change the thought, and the feeling must change. This is not wishful thinking, it's cause and effect. You don't wait for the sun to come out before you decide to believe it will be a bright day. You believe it will be bright, and you act in a way that brings brightness into being. Your mind will either be your greatest servant or your most ruthless master. If you don't take control of it, it will control you. And here's the most critical part. Your mind doesn't just respond to what's happening right now. It responds to the images and scenarios you repeatedly hold in your imagination. That means you can practice victory before you ever see it. You can rehearse success in your mind until it becomes so real that your body and actions naturally align with it. Athletes use this all the time. They don't just train their muscles. They train their minds to see the win before they step into the arena. Negative feelings cannot survive in a mind that is consistently fed with images of power, strength, and achievement. It's like trying to grow darkness in a room filled with light. But light doesn't appear by accident. It appears because you deliberately switch it on. You have to do the same with your thoughts. You can't wait for the world to be perfect before you decide to think powerfully. You have to think powerfully so that you can shape the world into something better. Every day you're making a choice whether you're conscious of it or not. You are either strengthening the neural pathways of fear, worry, and weakness, or you are strengthening the pathways of courage, focus, and determination. The brain works like a muscle. The more you exercise a certain thought pattern, the stronger it gets. If you constantly feed your mind with reasons why you can't succeed, you will get better and better at failing. If you constantly feed your mind with reasons why you will win, you will get better and better at finding ways to win. Your mind is always working, even when you're not aware of it. It's processing, creating, and manifesting. The question is, what instructions are you giving it? Are you giving it instructions to seek out opportunities, or are you giving it instructions to look for problems? Are you feeding it images of strength and victory, or are you letting it run on autopilot with the old stories of weakness and defeat? Because the mind will follow whatever orders you give it without question. Once you understand this, you stop blaming circumstances. You stop blaming people, you stop blaming the past, you realize that no matter where you are right now, your mind has the power to take you somewhere else. And that somewhere else can be exactly where you've always wanted to be. But it will not happen by accident. It will happen because you learn to master the key that unlocks every door, every opportunity, every possibility you could ever imagine. The words you speak to yourself shape the reality you live in. Every sentence you allow to pass through your mind becomes a command to your subconscious, and your subconscious never argues, it simply obeys. When you say, "I can't," you've just placed a wall in front of yourself. When you say, "maybe one day," you've just told your mind there is no urgency, no need to act now. When you say it's impossible, you've shut the door before even trying the handle. Language is not just communication, it is programming. The moment you understand that, you stop treating words as casual expressions and start treating them as tools or weapons, depending on how you use them. From the time you were a child, you were surrounded by words, some encouraging, some destructive. Over time, you unconsciously absorbed those words and began repeating them to yourself. If you were told you're not smart enough, not strong enough, not worthy, those phrases carved grooves into your thinking. And without realizing it, you may still be running those same scripts today. The danger lies in repetition. The more you repeat something, even if it's not true, the more your mind accepts it as truth. That's why the language of defeat is so dangerous. It doesn't just describe your reality, it creates it. Every time you tell yourself you can't do something, your brain begins to search for evidence to prove you right. This is the way the human mind works. It seeks confirmation for the beliefs you feed it. Say you're bad at business, and suddenly you'll start noticing every failed attempt, every mistake, every shortcoming, while ignoring every small win. Say you're unlucky, and you'll overlook the opportunities right in front of you while spotting every setback like a flashing warning sign. You've trained your mind to filter reality in a way that matches the words you've been speaking. The opposite is just as true. Replace "I can't" with "I will find a way," and your mind begins to work like a detective, hunting for solutions, finding opportunities, creating paths where none existed before. Say, "I always figure things out," and you will begin to notice patterns, resources, and strengths you never paid attention to. The power isn't in blind optimism, it's in the instructions you give your mind, and the first step is eliminating the vocabulary of weakness. Words like "can't," "impossible," "maybe," "if only" are not just harmless expressions, they are anchors. They keep you tied to the same place, no matter how badly you want to move forward. Think about a ship in the ocean. No matter how powerful its engine, it will never reach a new destination if its anchor is still buried in the sand. Your words are those anchors. The moment you cut them loose, you unleash the full force of your potential. This doesn't mean you ignore reality or pretend everything is perfect. It means you choose language that empowers you to act in spite of the challenges. Instead of saying "this is too hard," you say "this will challenge me, but I will grow through it." Instead of "I've never done this before," You say, "This is my first time, so I will learn faster than anyone else." Instead of "I don't know how," you say, "I will figure it out." You are constantly sending commands to your subconscious, and the quality of those commands determines the quality of your life. Negative feelings often start as negative words. You speak defeat into your mind, and soon your body follows with the emotions of defeat, low energy, hesitation, fear. Then those emotions influence your actions, and the cycle reinforces itself. The solution is to interrupt the cycle at the source, the words. The moment you catch yourself saying something that weakens you, stop. Replace it immediately with something that strengthens you. Do this enough times, and your default language will shift from doubt to certainty, from hesitation to conviction. Look at the way the most determined, unstoppable people speak. They don't say "I'll try," they say "I will." They don't say "I hope it works," they say "it will work." That kind of language creates an identity, an unshakable belief that they are capable, resilient, and worthy of winning. And once you adopt that language, your mind starts building the identity to match it. Your decisions become bolder. Your actions become more consistent. You stop talking yourself out of opportunities before you even take the first step. It's not just about the words you say out loud. The silent conversations in your head are even more powerful because they happen constantly. Every time you hesitate, every time you doubt, listen carefully to the words you're using internally. You might be surprised at how often you sabotage yourself before you begin. The shift starts with awareness. Once you hear the language of defeat in your mind, you have the power to rewrite it. This is not about faking confidence. It's about training your mind to focus on what is possible instead of what is impossible. The brain loves consistency. If you constantly feed it a language of strength, it will adapt to match that language. Over time, saying "I can" won't feel like a lie. It will feel like the most natural thing in the world. And that's when the magic happens. That's when you stop hesitating and start moving forward with conviction, because your mind no longer entertains the words that hold you back. Once you take away the vocabulary of defeat, you remove the breeding ground for negative feelings. You stop giving fear a script to read from. You stop giving doubt a voice, and without that language, those feelings struggle to survive. They fade, and in their place, strength begins to grow. The more you speak words of determination, the more those words harden into beliefs, and those beliefs solidify into unshakable confidence. And from that confidence, you begin to act in ways you never thought possible. Pain is one of the most misunderstood forces in life. Most people see it as something to avoid, something to escape from as quickly as possible. They feel discomfort, disappointment, or loss, and their first instinct is to retreat, to hide, to numb themselves. But pain is not your enemy. Pain is fuel, raw, unfiltered, explosive energy waiting to be directed. It is the signal that something inside you is demanding growth. It is the fire that can burn you down if you stand still, or propel you forward if you learn how to use it. The difference between people who stay stuck and people who rise is not whether they feel pain, but what they do with it. Every challenge you've ever faced has left behind one of two things: a scar or a source of strength. If you let pain define you, it becomes a scar, a permanent reminder of limitation. But if you let it refine you, it becomes a weapon, a sharpened edge that makes you more capable, more dangerous, more determined than before. The most resilient people are not the ones who have had an easy path. They are the ones who have been cut, bruised, and broken, and used every wound as proof that they could take the hit and keep moving forward. When pain hits, your emotions scream for relief. You feel anger, sadness, frustration, maybe even hopelessness. In those moments, most people want comfort, but comfort is where growth goes to die. If you choose to see pain as proof that life is testing you, then you stop asking "Why me?" and start asking "What is this here to teach me?" That shift changes everything. Pain stops being a punishment and becomes a teacher. It pushes you to find strength you didn't know you had. It forces you to think differently, to adapt, to innovate. Think about the greatest achievements in history: athletes breaking world records, entrepreneurs building empires from nothing, leaders overcoming impossible odds. None of them did it without pain. They had moments when quitting seemed easier, moments when the struggle felt unbearable. But instead of letting those moments crush them, they turned them into motivation. Every rejection, every loss, every failure was gasoline on the fire. They didn't wait for inspiration. They created it by deciding that their suffering would have meaning. Pain has a unique way of showing you what matters most. When you're comfortable, it's easy to waste time, to procrastinate, to drift through life without urgency. But when you've been burned, when you've been knocked to your knees, suddenly there is clarity. You see exactly what you want, and you understand what you're willing to fight for. That clarity can be the most powerful force you'll ever feel, if you're willing to harness it. Using pain as fuel requires discipline. It's not enough to just feel it, you must channel it. If you've been betrayed, instead of letting bitterness consume you, use that energy to build independence so strong that no one can control you again. If you failed publicly, instead of hiding in shame, let that humiliation sharpen your skills until you're unstoppable. If you've lost something valuable, use the hunger to rebuild something even greater. Pain can break your heart, but it can also harden your resolve. There's a dangerous trap that many people fall into. They use pain as an excuse. They tell themselves that their suffering gives them permission to stop trying, to settle, to become a victim. But pain is not a free pass to quit. It is an invitation to rise. Every time you face hardship, you are being handed a choice: to shrink or to expand, to collapse or to conquer. The people who transform their lives are the ones who choose expansion every single time, no matter how much it hurts. When you push through pain, something happens to your identity. You stop seeing yourself as fragile, and you start seeing yourself as unbreakable. You begin to trust yourself in a way that no external validation can match. You know without a doubt that no matter what life throws at you, you will not only survive but grow stronger because of it. That kind of self-belief cannot be bought, and it cannot be faked. It has to be earned in the fire. The truth is, pain will visit everyone. You cannot live without facing disappointment, loss, and struggle. But most people waste their suffering because they try to numb it instead of using it. They drown it in distraction, in blame, in excuses. And in doing so, they throw away the most potent source of motivation they will ever have. Pain is energy. It is heat. It is pressure. Those same elements that can destroy you are the exact ones that can forge steel. You decide whether you become ashes or a blade. The process is not comfortable, and it never will be. There will be days when you feel like you have nothing left to give, days when it feels like the weight is too much to carry. Those are the moments that matter most, because what you do in those moments will define the rest of your life. If you dig deep, if you take one more step, if you squeeze every drop of strength from your suffering, you will not just overcome the pain, you will transform it into unstoppable drive. The greater the pain, the greater the power it can produce, but only if you refuse to let it go to waste. Discipline is the foundation that holds everything together when emotions try to pull you apart. Emotions are temporary. They rise and fall like waves, unpredictable and often uncontrollable in the moment. One day you wake up motivated, ready to conquer the world, and the next day you feel heavy, unmotivated, maybe even hopeless. If your actions depend on those emotional shifts, your life will always be inconsistent. You'll work hard when you feel like it, and stop the moment you don't. That's how people waste years caught in cycles of starting and stopping, driven by moods instead of principles. Discipline breaks that cycle. Discipline means you do what needs to be done, whether you feel like it or not. When you train yourself to act from discipline, you stop negotiating with your emotions. You stop giving them control over your decisions. Feelings can whisper, scream, or plead, but discipline steps in like a commander and says, "This is the mission, and it will be completed." That's why disciplined people often seem unshakable. It's not that they never feel doubt or fear. It's that they don't allow those feelings to dictate their behavior. Think about the most successful athletes, entrepreneurs, leaders. They all share one thing in common. Their results are built on habits, not moods. They don't go to the gym because they're inspired every morning. They go because it's on the schedule, because it's non-negotiable. They don't build businesses only when they're excited. They build them every day, brick by brick, even on the days when motivation is nowhere to be found. That's the secret. Discipline creates momentum, and momentum builds results that emotion alone could never sustain. Negative feelings lose their power in the presence of discipline. When you feel fear, discipline says, "Do it anyway." When you feel tired, discipline says, "Push one more round." When you feel hopeless, discipline says, "Take the next step." Over time, this repeated act of choosing action over emotion reprograms your mind. You stop identifying with your feelings as much, and you start identifying with your actions. Instead of thinking, "I am afraid," you start thinking, "I am someone who moves forward no matter what." That shift changes everything. The danger of living by emotion is that it will always find an excuse for you. Your mind can come up with 100 reasons why today isn't the right day, why you're not ready, why you should wait until tomorrow. But discipline doesn't ask for the perfect moment. It creates the moment by showing up. It understands that consistency is more important than intensity. You don't need to have the best day every day. You need to keep moving every day, even if some days are slower than others. Discipline also gives you freedom in a way that emotions never can. People think discipline is restrictive, but it's actually the opposite. When you have control over your actions regardless of how you feel, you are no longer a prisoner of mood swings or external circumstances. You can keep building your life even when everything around you is falling apart. That's a level of power most people never reach because they're too busy waiting to feel ready. The truth is, you will rarely feel ready. Discipline allows you to act without that feeling. There's a reason why disciplined people often outperform more talented people. Talent is useless without the structure to back it up. Emotions may give you a spark, but discipline keeps the fire burning. Talent without discipline is like a powerful engine without fuel. It might look impressive, but it's not going anywhere. Discipline is the fuel, the force that turns potential into results. To develop discipline, you have to train it like a muscle. Start with small commitments and keep them, no matter what. If you decide to wake up at a certain time, wake up at that time even when you're exhausted. If you commit to studying for an hour, study for that hour even if your mind tries to wander. Every time you follow through despite your feelings, you strengthen the muscle of discipline. And the stronger it gets, the easier it becomes to override negative emotions. The beauty of discipline is that it compounds. The more you act despite your feelings, the less control those feelings have over you. The less control they have, the more consistent your actions become. And the more consistent your actions, the faster you move toward your goals. Eventually, you build an identity around this. You no longer see yourself as someone who tries. You see yourself as someone who executes. That identity becomes your armor against the unpredictable storms of emotion. When you look back at the most pivotal moments of your life, you'll notice something important. They weren't always moments of great inspiration. Many of them were moments when you acted in spite of fear, in spite of exhaustion, in spite of doubt. That's the power of discipline. It allows you to create defining moments even when the emotional conditions are far from perfect. In the end, emotions will always be part of life. You can't remove them and you shouldn't try, but you can put them in their place. They can ride in the passenger seat, but they can never touch the steering wheel. Discipline keeps your hands on the wheel no matter how hard the emotional storm hits. And when the storm passes, you'll still be on course, still moving, still building, because you never stopped to wait for the perfect emotional climate.